Good morning and welcome to Raoul's house. It's Saturday morning, in the aftermath, if you like. My sister was busily stripping paper in here, and unfortunately it's wood chip paper, so it's going to take an awful lot of work to get this off. But anyway, today what I'll do is I'll sweep and bag this stuff up, and then I can have another go in the week if I get a bit more time. That's something that's got to be done. But crucially, these cupboards have now gone. I've got a little bit of patchwork, and here's an interesting one. How do you tackle this? In this cupboard, looking up, there used to be a water tank there, and these are not cast iron, they're angle iron, and they go right into the brickwork. So my question is there a tank on the other side? I'd hate to cut these off and then find there's a big splosh in their bedroom, so I'm going to have to just check on that and make sure it's not being used. I would have thought they've probably got a new heating system in by now. This house is just quite an old one, and it had an immersion tank here, hence this cable laying at the bottom. And one of the things I need to do today is trace where that goes in the fuse box and get that disconnected, unless it's a spur, but I don't think so. It seems to be a quite hefty cable. I imagine that goes directly into the fuse box downstairs, so I'll have to disconnect that because that cable's still alive at the moment. But anyway, these brackets I'm going to have to chip into the plaster a little bit around them. Oh, that's just a piece of wood screwed to it. But I'm going to have to chip into the plaster around them, and I'm going to have to angle grind these off flush and then make good afterwards. This plaster that I thought was bad, because if you look, you see all the cracks. It looks bad, doesn't it? But it's not blown, nowhere. You know, it's still stuck to the wall. So I imagine because the immersion heater was down here, that's what's caused the cracks. So that's no problem. What I shall do is use a very wet coat of PVA glue, Bond, and it'll soak into those cracks and just help stabilise that, I'm sure. And then if I need to, I can do some filler afterwards, but that's going to be fine. None of it's blown, it's very secure, which I'm delighted about. But crucially, my bed is going here, the head of the bed going there, if you get me. So what I'm thinking is, at the moment, I've got this dinky little 1950s switch, and I'm going to replace it with one like this. Well, not in brushed metal, but in white. So it'll be a 4-way switch. And the idea being that as I've got this room completely stripped, and it's unoccupied, now is a great time to put in really decent lighting. And why not in a front bedroom have a 4-way switch? And I was thinking maybe one of the switches could maybe turn on a couple of small wall lights or a couple of bedside lights and make it 2-way switching, so I can turn it on and off from over here or here, and the rest do other things, like I was thinking like a Hollywood style dressing table mirror, an LED panel possibly on this wall, I don't know, and the central lighting, which I'll probably use spotlights for that. So I've kind of got my head around the lighting here of what I've got to do, but like I say, today I've got to clean up because we didn't really get a chance yesterday. Light was going, and I'm really grateful to Steve and Libby for the help they gave me yesterday. 3 hands really makes a serious difference when you're trying to do this kind of work. And their lovely dog Beanie, we made him a nice little bed. Yeah, so that's that. So what am I going to do today? Well, not too much, but one of the things I want to do, I'll say, is get that isolated down there. And to do that, I need to go down to the fuse box because I've got another job that I need to look at. Right, here we are at that prehistoric fuse box. I mentioned a while back there are only four fuses in there, a couple of lighting circuits, I think 1 ring main, and I'm imagining one of them will be for the boiler, but I haven't actually found the wire for that yet. But if the worst comes to worst, I'll cut the power and I'll seal off that cable up there at least, with some red tape so it's marked as live, but at least it's sealed. But what I do want to get at is this. I'll tell you what that is. Because there are only 4 fuses and my father had an electric shower installed, what they did, as well as the tails that go to the meter, there are also tails underneath that come into this small fuse box, call it that, and that goes on onto the shower. Now, I'm not likely to use the shower in the next couple of months, and this is going to be right in the way of what, and this, so is this pipe. I've got to angle grind that off as well, but this is right in the way of where I want to put my consumer unit, because I want to put it there. It pulls it in tight. It's the shortest route for the meter tails, so that makes sense really to use that. So what I've got to do is get the power disconnected so I can get that removed. Pretty important. Right, so what we'll do is we'll crack on with that job, and I shall come back. Right, we're back, and that's the shower disconnected, all taped up there. Well, I don't know why it doesn't need to be, it's live, but it's just so I know what it is. And isolator's in, and that's now clear now to put a fuse box in. Just got to cut that pipe off, which I'll probably do on Monday because it's a weekend. I don't really want to be making that kind of noise for the neighbours. Doesn't seem fair. So that's it. Isolator switch, all connected up. You know, I'm glad I've got electrician friends. You know, it helps. So anyway, that's done. As you know, if you watched yesterday's video, Steve broke up and took away the remnants of the fire for me. Bit of a heavy old thing. And so it was just broken down into rubble. And if you're wondering what I'm going to do with this, it's going to look a bit like this. Yeah, so that gives you some idea. Or possibly like this. Who knows? Anyway, that's it for Saturday. As I say, I don't like to disturb my neighbours too much. This doorway that I'm going to fill up, I'm going to use this, you know, this kind of cinder block type stuff. And I was thinking, well, you know, people are always offering these, so I don't see any point in buying them. So I think what I'll do when I come to brick that up, I'll just do it piecemeal and do a couple of courses, wait till I get some more, do some more, and keep going until I've filled the whole thing up. And I have spoken to a plasterer who's given me some tips on my old kitchen, which is this awful thing. Very narrow, you know, because the kitchen's going in there. And the layout of this I haven't quite decided on really. You know, it is going to have a shower, it is going to have a toilet, various things, and maybe this end a sort of larder storeroom, don't know, but it has got these terrible tiles on this wall. And he did say, well, if it's a 30s house, it's a good chance they've been cemented onto the brick and then the wall plastered down to it. He said, but you won't know until you start getting them off. So he said, and you'll need a Kango for that, which I have got. So at some point I have to get all those tiles off, but I'm not going to worry about it this side of Christmas. So that's it from Raoul's house for today. Very short one, but I did want to get those electrics sorted and get them isolated, which they are now, thankfully. Right, possibly see you on Monday. Take care.